Hare Krishna, welcome to this episode of Bhagavad-gītā, and today we will be studying four verses, eight chapters, eight chapter verses 17 through 20, and it's about the time-bound world and the timeless world, and the relativity of time and things like that. So that's the topic for today's verse. So I would suggest you all to share this live stream with others. ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम् वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादि पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. So please share this live stream with other devotees in the WhatsApp groups or wherever you can share so that more people can join in. So Bhagavad-gītā chapter 8 text 17. So today we will be studying four verses together, 17 through 20. The time-bound world and the timeless world. Okay, so 8:17. सहस्रयुगपर्यन्तम् अहर्यद्ब्रह्मणो विदुः रात्रिं युगसहस्रान्तां तेहोरात्रविदो जनाः. Sahasra 1000, Yuga millenniums, Paryantam including Ahaha day, Yat that which, Brahmanaha of Brahma, Viduhu they know, Ratrim night, Yuga millenniums, Sahasra Antam similarly ending after 1000, they, Ahaha Ratra day and night, Vidaha who understand, Janah people. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation: by human calculation, 1,000 ages taken together form the duration of Brahma's one day, and such also is the duration of his night. Purport: the duration of the material universe is limited. It is manifested in cycles of kalpas. A kalpa is a day of Brahma, and one day of Brahma consists of 1,000 cycles of 4 yugas or ages: Satya, Treta, Dwapara, and Kali. The cycle of Satya is characterized by virtue, wisdom, and religion, there being practically no ignorance and vice, and the yuga lasts 1,728,000 years. In the Treta Yuga, vice is introduced, and this yuga lasts 1,296,000 years. In the Dwapara Yuga, there is an even greater decline in virtue and religion, vice increasing, and this yuga lasts 864,000 years. And finally, in Kali Yuga, the yuga which we have now been experiencing over the past 5,000 years, there is an abundance of strife, ignorance, irreligion, and vice, true virtue being practically non existent, and this Kali Yuga lasts 432,000 years. Now, if you actually do the math, this 1728 and 1296, 864, and 432. These are actually multiples of 432,000 years. So 432,000 years is Kali Yuga, times 2 is 864,000 is Dwapara Yuga, times 3 is 1,296,000 is Treta Yuga, and times 4 is 1,728,000 years. So it's Kali Yuga times 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you actually see, although there are only 4 yugas, the period of Kali Yuga is actually 1/10 of the entire cycle. Because 4, 3, 2, 1. Altogether, 4 plus 3 plus 2 plus 1 is 10. So 10 times 432,000 years, which is 4.32 million years. That is one cycle. So out of that, only 432,000 divided by 4.32 million is 1/10. So 1/10 of the time is Kali Yuga. The rest 90% of the time is not this bad. We are so lucky that we are in that 10% of life, of that day of Brahma. Not day, that cycle of the 4 yugas. So that is our good fortune, or rather misfortune. So in Kali Yuga, vice increases to such a point that at the termination of the Yuga, the Supreme Lord himself appears as the Kalki avatar, vanquishes the demons, saves his devotees, and commences another Satya Yuga. Then the process is set rolling again. These 4 yugas, rotating 1,000 times, comprise one day of Brahma, and the same number comprise one night. Brahma lives 100 such years and then dies. These 100 years, by Earth calculations, total to 311 trillion 40 billion Earth years. By these calculations, the life of Brahma seems fantastic and interminable, but from the viewpoint of eternity, it is as brief as a lightning flash. In the causal ocean, there are innumerable Brahmas rising and disappearing like the bubbles in the Atlantic. Brahma and his creation are all part of the material universe, and therefore they are in constant flux. You know, this causal ocean, some people thought it was casual ocean. You don't see the spelling properly. It's a casual ocean. Why? Because Lord Vishnu is lying down casually. No, it's causal ocean. Karana. Karana means cause. Because it is the cause of all the material universes. That's why it's called Karanodaka. Because in the spiritual world, there is no cause, there is no starting. Whereas in this material world, there is starting, there is a cause, there is an effect. These cause and effect are absent in the spiritual world because it is all eternal. Eternal means there is no. If something is a cause of something else, then there is a birth. Like mother is the cause of the child, or father and mother are cause of the child. So there's a birth of the child. So that doesn't happen in the spiritual world. So therefore, there's no karana in the spiritual world. Karana happens here. Therefore, it's karana ocean. Although the water in that ocean is actually spiritual. Lord Vishnu is directly lying down there, so it's spiritual waters. But there, the Lord Vishnu actually starts. So therefore, causal ocean, not casual ocean. Brahma and his creation are all part of the material universe, and therefore they are in constant flux. In the material universe, not even Brahma is free from the process of birth, old age, disease, and death. Brahma, however, is directly engaged in the service of the Supreme Lord in the management of this universe. Therefore, he at once attains liberation. Elevated sannyasis are promoted to Brahma's particular planet, Brahmaloka, which is the highest planet in the material universe and which survives all the heavenly planets in the upper strata of the planetary system. But in due course, Brahma and all the inhabitants of Brahmaloka are subject to death according to the law of material nature. So actually, this was the verse which prompted me to give up Einstein's theory of relativity. I had this huge book like this thick on the theory of special relativity. Then after that, the more advanced version is theory of general relativity. So I was first studying the theory of special relativity because there's a relativity of time based on the so-called speed of the If the speed of something or somebody is comparable to the speed of light, they say the time dilation, the time uh, passes differently. So these things were being explained in with mathematical formulas and all that. But when I saw this was a verse that convinced me. Wow, the entire theory of relativity, the relative nature of time, is all mentioned in this one verse. I mean, there is an attribution to that relativity of time, but just one single verse, and it's not even the main subject of the book. It's just as a side effect, or as a side subject, because the main subject is Krishna is trying to say here that माम उपेत्य तो कौन्तेय दुःखालयम अशाश्वतम नाप्नुवन्ति महात्मानः संसिद्धिं परमां गताः. So um, and therefore after that he says abrahma bhuvanaloka. So he says if somebody comes to me, he has no rebirth, but in any planet of this material world down to the lowest, everywhere is this birth and death take place, and therefore it's a place of misery, right? Dukhalema shashvatam. But so therefore he is explaining Brahma's situation, because this is the topmost planet. So he's explaining Brahma's situation, like how great is his lifetime, but still it is nothing compared to, still it is destructive. So even such fantastic lifetime is nothing compared to eternal life. So he wanted to bring into contrast the material life and spiritual life. Now we know our lifetime and some other lower forms of life, like ants or dogs or cats, lions or whatever. Their lifetimes we have a little bit of an idea. But we don't have an idea of the demigods, what lifetimes they have. Even ghosts, we don't have a proper idea. It is said that they live for hundreds of years sometimes, these ghosts. Now, after that, they will come to another lifetime, but that's another thing. So, in that way, if you go higher and higher, we can't really estimate. But here is a authoritative statement that Brahma's, how long is Brahma's day? So, this prompted me to give up that theory of relativity of Einstein. See, it's just we are not even interested in the subject. Krishna said it as as a matter of factly. Yeah, Brahma's lifetime is this much, and but there is another world which is not. So it's like not even much importance is given to this. In fact, Krishna's whole point of saying this verse is to direct our attention away from this material world, away from this whole even Brahmaloka, the topmost planet, and point us to a world where parastasmatu bhavanu, that we will see 820. We will see today. So the whole point is the whole mention of this relativity is to only direct us away from the relative world and point us to the absolute world, where it is even more fantastic because there is no time at all. What is that in the Brahma Samhita? Um, Nimesharthakyo va vrajati nahi yatrapi samaya. This is Brahma Samhita. Nimesharthakyo va vrajati nahi yatrapi samaya. Even a half a moment does not pass in the spiritual world. There is the time does not pass at all. There's zero time there. Everything is eternal. Time means what? Kalosmi loka kshayakrit pravriddho lokan samahartum iha pravrittah. So that means time is actually an agent of the Lord meant for the destruction of everything. If there is time, there is destruction. So in the spiritual world, everything is eternal, and therefore eternal means there is no cause and effect, there is no before and after, everything is just present. Just present. That's it. There's no past, there's no future. Everything is present. So it's very difficult for us to comprehend such a situation. So the only reference to this relativity is mentioned in order to take us away from that. Whereas that whole book is just the theory of relativity, special relativity, which is actually the easier form of relativity, easier understanding of relativity. But whereas the theory of general relativity is supposed to be even bigger, and these are considered like the zenith of scientific understanding, and it's right at the pinnacle, right at the frontier of science. And such subject, when I saw it dealt with in such a disparaging manner in Bhagavad-gītā, I was sold. So that's what actually got me to Bhagavad-gītā. So let's go to this. Next verse. It's actually kind of a continuation. Avyaktād vyaktayah sarvāh prabhavantyah rāgame rātryāgame praliyante tatraiva vyakta samjnake. At the beginning of Brahma's day, all living entities become manifest from the unmanifest state, and thereafter, when the night falls, they are merged into the unmanifest again. 8:19. भूतग्रामः स एवायं भूत्वा भूत्वा प्रलीयते रात्र्यागमे वशः पार्थ प्रभवत्यः रागमे. Again and again, when Brahma's day arrives, all living entities come into being, and with the arrival of Brahma's night, they are helplessly annihilated. Why he should say these things? Why is the time scale important? Why is these mentions important? Because he's showing, like, in even such unimaginable time scales are met with the unfortunate end of destruction. And it's not just happening once, it's happening again and again. So therefore, it's not worth this dukhalem ashashvatam. Because he said ashashvatam, that ashashvatam he is highlighting with even the greatest of so-called shashvat. Because everybody wants to become they want to go to Amaravati in heavenly planet, Swargaloka. Amaravati means they think they become Amar. Amar means without maranam, without death, deathless. The only reason why they consider them as deathless is because they have a long life. So it's almost that they don't die. Actually, they do. It's just it's just like it appears that they don't die, right? Now, Krishna is taking the zenith of examples instead of just Swargaloka, Indra, or Amaravati. Let's go to Brahmaloka all the way, because Bhurloka, Bhuvarloka, Swargaloka, um, Maharloka, Janaloka, Tapoloka, Satyaloka. So Swargaloka is like very low planet compared to Brahmaloka. So let's take the maximum, Krishna says. And his lifetime is unimaginably long. Even he has to meet with the unfortunate end of death. So death is Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi Dukkha Doshana Darshanam. So these are the dukkha. When he says Dukkhalayam Ashashvatam, the dukkha is that you have to meet with death and you take birth again. And then again disease and old age and death. These are the things you have to go through. And Ashashvatam, Bhutva Bhutva Praliyate. So it's not worth it. I mean, it's not even happening once, happening again and again and again. We are just being like, in a hamster wheel, going round and round and round this thing. So therefore, Krishna is pointing us out of this, in fact, from the mention of this relativity. Why do you want to waste your time in this relative world? Whereas you look at the scientists, oh, Einstein's theory of relativity, E is equal to mc square, and the biggest, brains of modern science and everything. It's like as in nothing in the Bhagavad-gītā. It's a wasting. Don't waste your time in this relative world, where this time is all relative. Don't waste it. It's useless. Parastasmatu bhavanyo vyakto vyakta sanatana. So he's pointing us to a much greater world, the timeless world. Whereas here everything is time bound, relative, but still time bound. So, translation and purport by Savangre Sesi Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Again and again, when Brahma's day arrives, all living entities come into being, and with the arrival of Brahma's night, they are helplessly annihilated. Purport. The less intelligent who try to remain within this material world. So that's the criterion of a less intelligent person. That means he tries to live in this material world. Now, whether that be signed by scientific advancement or by, family connections, whatever. If the whole idea is to want to remain in this material world, you're less intelligent. Only an idiot, a fool, would actually sign up for such a horrible, cycle of birth and death in this temporary world. So it is less intelligent. So the less intelligent who try to remain within this material world may be elevated to higher planets and then again must come down to this planet, Earth. Tetam bhuktva swargalokam vishalam kshine punyam martyalokam vishanti. See, that's bitter truth of this material world. They can go to the higher planets, but again they have to come back here when their quota of piety is finished. So, the less intelligent may be elevated to higher planets and then again must come down to this planet Earth. During the daytime of Brahma, they can exhibit their activities on higher and lower planets within this material world, but at the coming of Brahma's night, they're all annihilated. Helplessly annihilated, Avashaha. Avashaha. Automatically. Automatically means beyond our control. Helplessly. In the day, they receive various bodies for material activities, and at night, they no longer have bodies but remain compact in the body of Vishnu. Then again, they are manifested the arrival of Brahma's day. Bhutva Bhutva Praliyate. During the day, they become manifest, and at night, they are annihilated again. Ultimately, when Brahma's life is finished, they are all annihilated and remain unmanifest for millions and millions of years. And when Brahma is born again in another millennium, they are again manifest. In this way, they are captivated by the spell of the material world. So here it is clearly stated that we don't only live in this current life of this Brahma, but even after this Brahma is finished, if our karma is not finished, if we are still wasting time in this material world, then we will take in the birth in the next universe, millions and millions and billions of years later, according to our previous actions in the previous universe. So in this way, we're continuing, and Brahma's life, as we know, 311 trillion, 40 billion years. And that's one lifetime of Brahma. How many Brahmas we have passed? How many Brahmas have passed, and we are still here? Anadi karma phale, podi bhavarnava jale. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, Anadi karma phale. Our karma is starting, it is no trace in history, how far back it started. So, in this way, they are captivated by the spell of the material world, but those intelligent persons who take to Krishna consciousness use the human life fully in the devotional service of the Lord, chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Thus, they transfer themselves even in this life to the spiritual planet of Krishna and become eternally blissful there, not being subject to such rebirths. And this is the last verse, and this is in complete contrast to the previous three verses. 820. It's a very important verse. Prabhupada quoted many times. Parastasmat tu bhavonyo vyakto vyaktat sanatanah yah sa sarveshu bhuteshu nashyatsu na vinashyati. Yet there is another unmanifest nature which is eternal and is transcendental to this manifested and unmanifested matter. It is supreme and is never annihilated. When all in this world is annihilated, that part remains as it is. This is much more fantastic than even the fantastic life of Brahma. This is even more astounding, right? And this is where we belong. This is our real home. Why we have to sign up for a repeated destructive abode, repeatedly destructive abode? We should go to this abode where everything is. We anyway want permanent situation. Everybody wants a permanent home, a permanent situation, this and that. But nothing is going to be permanent. The only thing permanent is change. That is this material world. But there's no change. Does it mean that it's very boring in the spiritual world? Not at all. What is that? Nityotsavam, Akhandotsavam. These are the words used for describing the life in the spiritual world. What is that? Even that last verse. Let's see. Brahma Samhita 556. Shriyah Kantah Kantah Paramapurushah Kalpataravo Druma Bhumischinta Maniganamayi Toyam Amritam Kathaganam Natyam Gamanavapivam Sri Priya Sakhi Chidanandam Jyoti Paramapitada Swadhyamapicha Paramapitada Swadhyamapicha Sayatra Kshirabdhi Sravati Surabhibhyascha Sumahan Nimeshardhakhyo va Vrajati nahi yatrapi samayah. भजे श्वेतद्वीपं तमहमिह गोलोकमिति यम् विदन्तस्ते सन्तः क्षितिविरलचाराः कतिपये. कथा गानम तोयम अमृतम भूमिश्चिंतामणि चिंतामणि गणमयी कल्पतरवो द्रुमा श्रिया कांत श्रिया कांताः कांतः. सो चिदानंदन ज्योति कथा गानम नाट्यम गमनम वंशी प्रियसखी चिदानंदम ज्योति परम अपि तदास्वाद्यम अपि च. So spiritual happiness they're enjoying. Every step is a song. Every step is a dance. Every word is a song. Every tree is a what is that? Desire tree. Every stone is a chintamani gem. In this way, it is described spiritual world. And every moment is a festival. Akhandotsavam, Nityotsavam, Natatrapur, Drishibhi Pibantyo, Narya Narascha Mudita, Kupita Animescha. This is explained in the 924-924-65 of Srimad Bhagavatam. यस्याननं मकरकुण्डलचारुकर्णा भ्राजत्कपोलसुभगं सविलासहासं नित्योत्सवं नतत्रिपुरदृशिभिः पिबन्त्यो नार्यो नराश्च मुदिताः कुपितानिमेश्च. नित्योत्सवं. Krishna's face is decorated with ornaments such as earrings resembling sharks. His ears are beautiful, his cheeks brilliant, and his smiling attractive to everyone. Whoever sees Lord Krishna sees a festival. Nityotsavam. Nitya means always. His face and body are fully satisfying for everyone to see, but the devotees are angry at the Creator for the disturbance caused by the momentary blinking of their eyes. See that? So, this is Krishna. This is the spiritual world. Everybody is having a festival. Is that word here in this? Yeah, that word is definitely not here. But I don't know which book where it is mentioned. Anyway, I don't know whether it's a book or a song or I don't know which one. Anyway, Nityotsavam is there. That word is there. So that is a Utsava, always going on in the spiritual world. Let's search the word Utsava. Rasotsava, yeah. In fact, we have so many festivals in our Vaishnava, this thing. No, 924-65. Even here, Prabhupada explains a daily festival. Seeing Krishna is described here as Nityotsava, daily festival. So that is bhakti. That is the spiritual world. So again, yet there is another unmanifest nature which is eternal and is transcendental to this unmanifested and unmanifested matter. It is supreme and is never annihilated. When all in this world is annihilated, that part remains as it is. Purport. Krishna's superior spiritual energy is transcendental and eternal. It is beyond all the changes of material nature, which is manifest and annihilated during the days and nights of Brahmā. Krishna's superior energy is completely opposite in quality to material nature. Superior and inferior nature are explained in the 7th chapter. 7th chapter 4 and 5, Bhumirapa Analo Vayu Kham Mano Buddhirevacha. So that earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego comprise the separated material energy of Krishna, whereas the aparayam itastvanyam vidhyame prakritim param jiva bhutam mahabaho yadedham dharyate jagat. So Apara prakriti and para prakriti. Apara prakriti means inferior, para means superior. So jiva bhutam, we the living entities are of the superior nature, whereas the matter is of inferior nature, and therefore we will try to dominate. We try to dominate here, but actually we are supposed to be predominated, and the Lord is the dominant entity. We can only dominate somebody who is inferior, right? So, since we wanted to become the dominant one, and instead of the Lord, we wanted to compete with the Lord, right? So, the Lord said, "Fine." So, why did He not accommodate us in the spiritual world and allow us to be dominant? Now, the problem is He wants to, but the thing is because we wanted to be dominant, but by nature we are only minute compared to the Lord. We are never equal or never superior to Him. So therefore, we cannot dominate the Lord because we are inferior. Only the superior can dominate the inferior. Inferior cannot dominate the superior. So He gave us a world where there is something inferior to us. In the spiritual world, there is nothing other than spirit. Everybody, everything, and everybody is there, a person. Even the stones are a person. Persons there. Everything is a person there. So that is the meaning of spirit. Hmm. Whereas He gave us a world which is inferior to us, so that we can actually to fulfill our desire to dominate, and that's why this material world is there. So now Krishna is pointing us, very mercifully pointing to us, that there is this another world which is beyond this, you know, destructive world, which is eternal, and that's where we belong. So Krishna is pointing us, please come to that. And he's saying, in the next verse, 821, he says, Yam prapya na nivartante. So he did not say that in the 820. He just said that when all in this world is annihilated, that part remains as it is. So fine, okay. So why should I be interested? Well, you can go there and you no need to come back here. Now, is that not a lucrative offer? You can get a lifetime longer than Brahma, in fact, eternal life in the spiritual world and with complete enjoyment. Why do you want to give up on that? So he's proposing an offer to us. Like, come, yam prapya na nivartante. So he wants us to prapta, that Krishna prapti hoy jaha hoite. So if we surrender to spiritual master, then we will have Krishna prapti. So he wants us to get that. He wants us to come back. That is what he's pointing to now. Tad dhama paramam mama. So anyway, now that is next verse, next time. Now here in this verse, this is the thing. So have been having some discussions with a couple of gentlemen from US, and they were asking all about the cosmic situation of the planets, and the distances of the planets from each other, the speeds of the planets, and everything like that. And they were so much into this calculations, and how far it is, and how come our modern science is saying this number, and Vedic literature is saying this number, like what to believe. It doesn't seem believable. The Shastra doesn't seem believable. So they basically doubt the entire Shastra just because they feel that there is some discrepancy in the details. So of course I try to explain to them that if there is any discrepancy, it's only with our senses, and the reality, we have to always trust the Shastra. So they were saying that if I they say this is cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance is a psychological condition where a person is brainwashed into accepting a certain doctrine without logic, without questioning it. So they say that, okay, even though in front of your eyes you are saying one thing, but the book says in another way, and because you have to be party to this school of thought, you have to submit to that thinking, and therefore you have to deny the very proof that is right visible right in front of your eyes. So you are fooling yourself by accepting something which is contradictory to your experience as truth. So this was their point. So you can see, I mean, with our telescopes, with our this thing, we have found out that the universe is much larger than 4 billion miles in diameter. Whereas they're saying it's just a minuscule number. 4 billion miles is nothing. That's their contest. They're contesting that. Now, my point is, I can make a small place look much bigger with manipulation. Like if I, instead of a wall, if I put mirrors all over, it'll look like a much bigger place than it actually is. That's one way to make a small place look bigger. Another way is, in camera, because when you take videos or photos, when you shift the focus, if it is 35 millimeters focus, then it is just like human eye. But if it's an ultra wide lens, and if you crank it down to 16 millimeters or 22 millimeters, anything less than 35, you're having a distorted image, which is not what the reality is. So if you take it a wide angle and point at a mountain, now you will see that mountain as much farther than it actually is. Not even a mountain, even a person, even if the person is standing in front of the camera, with the wide angle lens, he will appear to be standing much farther from the camera than he actually is. So there is distortion that is possible even with a little manipulation of some lenses and some mirrors. I can achieve that. So why are we so? I mean, why should we be so sure? Because apparently these two persons who talking with me, they are into very much into science and space and astronomy, and they even have some their own telescopes which they use it to stare into the distance, and they take pictures of Milky Way galaxies and then other galaxies, whatever this. So what? For me, you know, that actually doesn't make any sense, because yeah, you can take photos, you can take anything, whatever you see, you're taking photos of that only. That's it. You can't prove anything with that. Now it may look something, yeah, but that is exactly why there is this. If you see in the Srimad Bhagavatam, like if I point the camera at a spoon which is half filled in water, now that spoon will appear bent. And if I see in the camera and take a picture, hey, you see, I've taken a picture. It is a bent. Array, it is bent. If you understand refraction, then you know it is not bent. It is actually bending of light. So you can take any picture and whatever you may do, that doesn't prove anything at all. What you are seeing, you are taking a picture of. But what you're seeing, is it right or not? How you know? Well, I'm seeing it. Yeah, you're seeing it. You're looking at the sun. What do you understand about the sun? You can't see anything. Hmm. But we have information from Bhagavad-gītā. There is a whole civilization. Krishna spoke to the sun god. Now, these people were not ready to believe, that there is a civilization on the sun. There is a civilization on the moon. In fact, they believed the moon landing hoax and all that. But they wanted to become, they want to have faith in the Shastra, but they think that, oh, these are all discrepancies. Actually, this is a very good lesson for everybody. But anyway, let's look at this one first. Tejo vari mridam yatha vinimayo yatra trasargom rasha. What is the meaning? Teja means fire, vari means water, mridam means earth. Vinimayaha means action and reaction. Yatra trisargom rasha. Muhyanti yat surayaha. You know, even great sages and demigods are bewildered, and these people are, depending on their senses and trying to be not bewildered. So they are basically testing the statements of the Shastras with their personal experience and what they see. Why this has to be the standard? Why? Your senses are imperfect. Having too much faith in one's senses rather than Krishna's descriptions. So this is a folly, and this is why we become agnyascha shraddha dhanas. Our shraddha will become what is that? It will take a beating, and with that, what happens? Na sasiddhim avapnoti, na sukham, na param gatim. He will not get perfection, no happiness, and no, he will not attain the supreme destination. He will be revolving in this, you know, um, ocean of arguments. I'll show you. Actually, I have to go there. I'll show you something interesting. Now, you see, let's look at the translation here. By him, Even the great sages and demigods are placed into illusion as one is bewildered by the illusory representations of water seen in fire or land seen on water. You know, basically land, water, fire, what are these? These are the elements. Now, space, ether is also an element. So, these things are actually very, very bewildering even to the demigods and sages. It's not so easy actually for them to even understand. So, what to speak of us? We are like so incapacitated compared to them, and we think we are, we think it has to appeal to our logic, our minuscule logic. So, achintya khaluye bhava natam starkena yojayet. When there is matter of something which is achintya, which is cannot be comprehended, there's no point arguing about things there. Accept. Accept Krishna's version. That's it. You'll be a perfect scientist. When moon landing was shown, Prabhupada was laughing. They never did. They never went to the moon. He said immediately, they never went to the moon. No, they took pictures and yeah, it's all laboratory work. It's all laboratory work. Dismissed immediately. And it was. It was. Nimanita Prabhu made a video about the moon landing hoax. What he did, he went to the nasa.gov website, government website of NASA, downloaded pictures from their thing about moon landing, Apollo 11, and then showed it with Mac. He owns a MacBook. So in that MacBook, there is this, a simple program which is just like what preview, preview, which is just like a light version of Photoshop. So in that, he just cranked up the what is that contrast, and then he could see, we could see all the paste, how it was pasted, the earth, so-called earth, that was the picture of the earth in the sky, it was pasted, and then here it was pasted, and nothing was matching, everything was doctored. You can see clearly there. Little, I mean, very simple tools, you can prove that it is a hoax. If it was really a solid photograph, I mean, why you need to do all this? You don't need to, but they did it. So even with that, I mean, it's just a simple program. A browser can show you that it's a hoax. But people believe that, and they don't believe this. You see? And they point fingers at us that, oh, we are blindly believing. What are they doing then? They are blindly believing. So we fall into this trap thinking that we are very logical creatures. We are actually not. We just are fed with something and we believe, and we test everything according to that first feeding. We are fed that we have landed on the moon, so we will test everything else according to that first feeding. Whether man landed on the moon, they don't check. The first thing they don't check, and then they think that is logic. Whatever they first heard, that is the basis of their logic. So that is a folly. That is a huge folly, and therefore they can never understand. Panthastukoti shatavatsara sampragamya. And let's see. Chaitanya Charitamritam, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says a very interesting verse. 2:2, I think. 2:1, 2:1. Yeah. Shri Chaitanya Prabhum Vande Balopi Yadanugrahat Tarenna Matagraha Vyaptam Siddhanta Sagaram. I offer my obeisances to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, by whose mercy even an ignorant child can swim across the ocean of conclusive truth, which is full of the crocodiles of various theories. You know, it's a perfect verse. Because there are so many theories and conflicting this and conflicting everywhere is conflicting. But if one takes shelter of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he will see that he will swim across the ocean of conclusive truth, which is full of crocodiles of various theories. They don't let you swim, they will grab you and eat you. Nana Mata Graha. Graha means something which captures you. Crocodile is actually one thing, shark is another thing. So all these things will capture you in this material world. These philosophies are so bewildering that they will drag us, they will capture us and drag us into this material world, like keep us in this material world and devour us. And let me show you something. I was having a conversation with Sunugopal Prabhu, His Grace Sunugopal Prabhu, and I was aware of this verse, but he showed me three other verses which are very, very, very apt in this connection. Let me show you that. 6:4:31. यच्छक्तयो वदतां वादिनां वै विवादसंवादभुवो भवन्ति कुर्वन्ति चैषां मुहुरात्ममोहम् तस्मै नमोऽनन्तगुणाय भुम्ने atmamoham. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the all-pervading Supreme Personality of Godhead, who possesses unlimited transcendental qualities. Acting from within the cores of the hearts of all philosophers who propagate various views, he causes them to forget their own souls while sometimes agreeing and sometimes disagreeing among themselves. Thus, he creates within this material world a situation in which they are unable to come to a conclusion. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. That's why Vedeshu Durlabham, Adurlabham Atma Bhaktao. The Lord is in what? No, He's not reachable. He's not attainable by any amount of Vedic study. You can study as many scriptures as you want. You will never understand the Lord. Why? Because Naham Prakasha Sarvasya Yogamaya Samavritaha Mudhoyam Nabhijanati. Who is a Mudha? Who doesn't accept the authority of Krishna and the spiritual master, who is authorized by Krishna. So this is one verse. I knew this verse, but Prabhu showed today three verses combined together say this exact same point. Now let me show you that. 11:24, 11:22, 4, 5, and 6. So this is Bhagavan Vacha. Let me see 1, 2, and 3. This is Uddhava Vacha. So what is he asking? Let's see the question. I haven't read this question. Uddhava inquired, "Oh, my dear Lord, oh Master of the universe." Again, Master of the universe. We're talking about universes and planetary distances. Hello, Master of the universe here. How many different elements of creation have been enumerated by the great sages? I have heard you personally describe a total of 28. God, the Jiva soul, Mahatattva, false ego, 5 gross elements, 10 senses, mind, 5 subtle objects of perception, the 3 modes of material nature. But some authorities say that there are 26 elements, while others cite 25 or else 7, 9, 6, 4, or 11, and even others say that there are 17, 16, or 13. What did each of these sages have in mind when he calculated creative elements in such different ways? O Supreme Eternal, kindly explain this to me. Perfect question, right? There's so many conflicting theories, conflicting understandings. Even the numbers are different. Like these two gentlemen, they were coming to me with this point that sun is 93 million miles away according to modern science, um, and moon is farther than the sun. Like, what is this? How can this is outrageous? How can moon be farther than the sun? They cannot comprehend. As if they actually went out and measured the moon and measured the sun. Did you actually go there and measure the distance? Can you show me like a proof, like you actually went there? You can't. And yet, okay, they say, "Oh no, we have instruments, we have ways to count and measure." Yeah, you are counting whatever you are seeing from here, from this vantage point. You are counting. Like I can count. Like if I see through the wide angle lens of a camera, I'm going to see that the mountain or the person is much farther. With that, I may judge that okay, you know what, he is about 10 meters away from me, but maybe he's just 3 meters away from me in reality. But I'm looking through this lens, which is distorting my image. So we have distorted image. Our lens, these eyes, yeah, they can allow us to see certain things in this material world, but then there is a lot of distortion when it goes beyond a certain limit. We cannot really see everything. We can't be so sure. Even, I mean, black hole theory and all these things, they also accept the theory of that space can be bent. That means light can be bent, space can be bent, and it creates a huge illusion that is, we can't even comprehend the kind of illusion that is possible when those conditions are met. So that's the point I'm trying to make. We can't be so sure about what we're seeing. And light travels at different speeds at different in different places. In water, in air and ether, there's a difference in speed. And sometimes the illusion is so strong. That's why tejo varimrida vinimayo yatra trisargam vrisham muhyanti yat surayah. These words are used. Why? So perfect question, right? I mean, Everybody's analyzing. Sankhya philosophy is about analyzing this material world. Now, these people who approached me also, they were analyzing in different ways. Now, let us see this verse here. Although, okay, this is another thing. Now, here the question is, he mentioned that 5, 17, 16, 15, 25, 28, whatever. Now, which number is correct? He wanted a number, a numerical answer. For example, if you were asking this question, or if I were asking this question, I would look for, hey, they're saying so many numbers, which number is correct? And what, in which consideration, what is the consideration in all these things? So you would expect an answer. But Krishna answered in a different way. He said, why you have these difference of opinions? So Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, Yuktam chasanti sarvatra, bhashante brahmana yatha, mayam madiyam udgrihya, vadatam kim nu durghatam. Mayam, mystic energy. We are only aware of certain types of distortions, like the lens I told you, the mirror I told you. I mean, there are so many optical illusionists who, just because of a perspective, if you come and look at the same thing from a different thing, you will see the whole thing, the illusion. But from this perspective, it looks something like impossible. How this is even possible? But if you look at it from another angle, you can see that actually, yeah, it is possible. So optical illusions can be had in multifarious ways, infinite ways. And the Lord, being the perfect magician, he knows how to twist everything. Don't ever play with the Lord and try to challenge his magic capabilities. He is Maya means what? Mystic energy. Madhyam, Udgri here resorting to. So Durghatam will be impossible. So he's saying, Krishna replied, because all material elements are present everywhere, it is reasonable that different learned Brahmanas have analyzed them in different ways. All such philosophers spoke under the shelter of my mystic potency, and thus they could say anything without contradicting the truth. When they say 17 or 16 or this, nothing contradicts the truth. How can it be? Because we are used to this fact that, okay, if it is this, it is not this. Well, if you calculate looking at it in this way, it is this. If you calculate in this way, it is this. So even if the measurements don't match, there is differences of perception. And if you calculate in different ways, both can be true. Like three-dimensional travel is basically, what is three dimensions? Length, breadth, height. So basically the whole of space, this is three dimensions. And travel in this is like, just if you have higher speed, then you have lesser time, and you can travel greater distances and like that. But there is another kind of travel which the yogis resort to. It is more than three-dimensional travel. By the power of the mind, I can think of my parents' home in India in a jiffy, in a fraction of a moment. Light even cannot pass that fast. Yeah, it is many millions of, 299,000 million something meters per second or something. Even that is slower than the speed of the mind. Even that is slower. So yogis can tap into the speed of the mind and can distort completely the travel times. They can travel like Narad Muni. He used to travel everywhere. Durvasa Muni, in the Bhagavatam, it is mentioned that he himself, being a great yogi, he went to Brahmaloka, Shivaloka, and even Vaikuntha, and came back to Ambarish within 1 year. I mean, what kind of travel did he do? He did not have a spacecraft. He did not have a space suit. He was having some, like this one, cloth, sannyasi. So, I mean, look at that. This was possible. It's a totally different type of travel. It's not three-dimensional. It's by mind. The power of mind can even distort the three-dimensional. Because even light is just physical. Mind is higher than this. Intelligence is even higher. Soul is even higher. Even they have some kind of fantasy where wormhole, and they say even with quantum physics and with black holes, they say, oh, wormholes are possible where from one the space is totally bent, and then from one place you can totally go to a totally different place. Now, These things are possible. And even we have informations from Mahabharata and other itihasas. For example, Pandavas, they went to the Himalayas, and from there they took to the airways, like um, air tunnels, basically, and accessed Gandharvaloka, Kinnarloka. Or where? How did they go? Normal people can't find that. So this is subtle travel, and yogis do this. But this is unknown to modern science. Unknown to modern science. Now, modern science, for example, I mean, I'll give you an example. The child within the womb. We, in our Vedic literature, there's no CT scans and all these scans. But the fetus, the development of the child within the womb, is more accurate. The description of that development is more accurate than modern science. Much more accurate. Modern science, the CT scans cannot see any baby there until 6 weeks because it's too small. Whereas Shastra says exactly even when that starts on the night, first night itself, and then it will slowly, and when the different parts of the body come into being, everything is mentioned. Markandeya Puran, Bhagavatam, these mention everything. So now you may say, oh, that is all like, and there's no proof that. Now scientists, now the instruments, they are actually seeing something to an extent. Oh yeah, now it is true. Yeah, our Vedic science is very great. Now Vedic science says we can move with the speed of mind. Oh, that is all fantasy. Because modern science cannot do it. We only tend to believe Vedic statements when modern science can corroborate it. And when modern science falls completely short of it, we tend to have faith in this short-sighted, narrow-minded, completely defective system rather than the perfect knowledge given by Krishna. This is our folly. So you see, and he says, all such philosophers spoke under the shelter of my mystic potency, and thus they could say anything without contradicting the truth. So are the devotees also under this potency, and therefore they also do not know? No, they are not. Let me show you the next verse and the next verse. Naita devam yathathatvam yadaham vachmi tattatha evam vivadatam hetum shaktayo me duratyayah. When philosophers argue, I don't choose to analyze this particular case in the same way that you have. It's exactly the conversation I had with these people last 2 days. So they say, oh, this is not you have accepted this way, but I have accepted this way. So you see, the philosophers argue, I don't choose to analyze this particular case in the same way that you have. When philosophers argue like this, it is simply my own insurmountable energies that are motivating their analytic disagreements. Wonderful. Wonderful. We think we are smart and we have figured out something that the scriptures did not say, but the scriptures have everything. You see, look at this. I mean, how can you like argue with this? Next, यासां व्यतिकरादासीद् विकल्पो वदतां पदं प्राप्ते शमदमेप्येति वादस्तं मनुषाम्यति. By interaction of my energies, different opinions arise. But for those who have fixed their intelligence on me, the devotees, mana samyamya machitto and mana mayarpita manobuddhi, those who have done that, devotees. But for those who have fixed their intelligence on me and control their senses, differences of perception disappear. And consequently, the very cause for argument is removed. For example, this person was arguing whether 93 million miles or 1.6 million miles, how can the moon be farther than the sun? How can the moon be one of the stars? How can there be life on the sun? So many questions, right? Do we as devotees ever even consider, okay, even if there is completely unfathomable life forms or whatever it is, we are not even interested in the situation on the sun planet. We are not interested in the situation on the moon planet, although we may argue with them because we don't have any regard for the defective perceptions, we have full regard for Krishna's words, which are perfect. Now, and therefore, why are we arguing with the materialists on moon landing or Darwin's theory of evolution or on all these things? Why should we be worried about this? No, we are not worried about that. Then why are we engaging in that debate? The debate is our goal, our perception as followers of Krishna, as devotees. We are not interested in whether the animals evolved or not, or you know, we know they did not. We know how they're situated. So if we are clear about it, why should we debate? And are we seeking any answer? No, we are not. We want to convince them of what? That this Atma is evolving and from is traveling and the bodies are always constant. Well, yes. And why? Because we want to bring them to the Vedic fold. We want to bring them to the Vedic fold. And we want to glorify Krishna's Shastra, Krishna's knowledge. Our real aim is to actually glorify Krishna's knowledge. That how if you take to it, you will be actually happy. Your inquisitiveness or your whatever problems you have, everything, none of it will make you happy except when you come to Krishna. And with love, because a devotee has love for Krishna, if somebody says something that contradicts what Krishna says, he will attack that person. He's not interested in the subject that he's attacking. He's interested in glorifying Krishna and telling that Krishna is right and you're wrong. And you accept Krishna, you will also be right, you will win in your life. It's not just to put down the other person and say that, what, I want to win this argument. I want to win this argument so that you can win in your life. If I lose the argument, Krishna, whatever plan is, I am not an instrument. At least I tried, but even then, actually, there's no loss. Even if I lose in this whole, like Abhimanyu died in the battle, there's no loss. He served on Krishna's side. That is much better than Ashwathama, who survived the war even in the opposite side, but he went against Krishna, went against his devotees. He killed, the 5 sons of Pandavas, and he tried to kill Parikshit in the womb. So he survived the war, whereas Abhimanyu died. Ashwathama was on the wrong side. Abhimanyu was on the right side. Whose life is better? Abhimanyu's life is better. So, even if we lose an argument, doesn't matter. Because we fought for Krishna. Because we fought for Krishna's philosophy, so Krishna recognizes that. So, a devotee, when he engages in these debates, he's not interested in that topic. He's not. Still, he engages in that debate. Just to say that Krishna's knowledge is perfect. Krishna's knowledge is ultimate. And he actually wants to save that person. Array, don't forget about these measurements between planets and their orbits and their speed. Yeah, they're mentioned to satisfy your curiosity, and if your experience doesn't match, actually you did not even experience. You did not go anywhere from your home. You just were stuck to your Earth. You never jumped 2 meters above the surface of the globe, and then you're talking about things that are way millions of years away. So you have not even experienced anything. You have seen from here some distorted version of events, and then now you're saying that my distorted version is the benchmark of what is that measurement, and the benchmark for truth. Everything has to tally with this, otherwise it's wrong. That's a complete hubris. Hubris means excessive pride, conceit. Too much faith in our senses, too much faith in our senses and our lenses. Those telescope lenses and microscope. We have too much faith in our senses and our lenses. Basically, lenses means any kind of instrument that we may employ based on our defective perception. So, but for the devotees who fix it, all these, you see what is mentioned here, differences of perception disappear. And consequently, the very cause for argument is removed. You see how much these people who were arguing with me, they were like, hey, how come 93 million miles sun's distance, and for us that is not even an argument. I'm not even concerned. I may try to prove you wrong by Shastic statements you may or may not accept, but I'm not concerned even about the time, how far is the sun. I'm not concerned. It doesn't matter to me, actually. And how far is the moon from the sun or the earth from the moon? I don't care. I don't care. One thing I know, however far they are or however near they are, we are miserable. We need to get out of here. And Krishna has the answers for that. So, we are not into trying to understand everything. We are trying to understand that our position is to be a servant of Krishna. We cannot really understand everything. Of course, it is mentioned that if you know Krishna, you will know everything. What does that knowing everything means? That means to know, not be, stuck with some stupid arguments. Completely know everything means you will know the purpose of everything and the situation of everything as much as Krishna tells you. And the main thing is the conclusion of all knowledge should be on what action I have to take. Because based on our convictions, our actions are motivated. Because my conviction is that I am this body and this is my family, and to maintain them, I have to work, so I'm working. My conviction is that this is my family, this is my duty, this is my thing. That's my conviction. Now, if I understand my conviction, with conviction that actually I'm a servant of Krishna, then I will serve Krishna. So, if I do not accept what Krishna is saying, then I'm doubting his supremacy. Because you say, oh, the Vedas also have defects, you see, the measurements are not matching with the modern science. So, therefore, Shastra is defective, not modern science. So, and it is not that interplanetary travel is not possible. It is possible and it has been done before. And even this technology that we have, one of those gentlemen, he works in a big Apple company, this Apple. And he said, you see, the very fact that we are talking, it was a WhatsApp call. So it's like he was saying that, the very fact that we're having a call right now, we are able to speak to each other when we are thousands of miles apart. And, the my audio is being transmitted by air to the satellite and then back to your phone and then decoded and encoded in the process and decoded at my phone, and then we are having this conversation in matter of seconds. I mean, not even 1 second delay, almost maybe 1 second, not much delay. So, I mean, how fast that is. Isn't that wonderful? You said. I said, yeah, it certainly is. So how can you say that this whole science is a scam? The satellites are moving there with the perception that the Earth is round, and all these things, um, according to the distance and everything, all these things are mentioned, and because of that, it's even working. And I said, hello, there is this technology has been in existence without all those satellites. Sanjay could see the battlefield of Kurukshetra, and he narrated everything to Dhritarashtra. Then the gentleman, he said, yeah, but only one person could see. Okay, I accept. Okay, fine. Even if I accept that Sanjay could see, only one person could see. Now today, millions of people can see whatever is happening on the other side of the globe. Isn't that better? I said, no, it is not. Because you give such facility to fools and rascals and idiots. You see what is happening with the world today. Everybody, they don't know what is true and what is false anymore. And there's too much noise. Everybody is talking on the social media, and everybody can connect with everybody. There's too much chatter now. And the whole point is, even now after this whole technology has come up, what happened to the character of the people? Is it gone up or gone down? It has certainly gone down. So with that we can test whether it is actually helpful or not for the civilization. Whereas previously only qualified people had access. Today you give access to an idiot, he will watch some cricket match or some soccer or some movie, waste his time, waste his valuable human life in sense gratification. Whereas if you give to Sanjay, he will see the Kurukshetra battle and he is narrating Bhagavad-gītā here. Look at the difference. If you give the same power to a fixed up devotee, what he will do, a pure devotee, and a materialist, completely different. Therefore, whatever is helpful for our spiritual growth, that should be allowed. Why only Kshatriyas used to rule? Now, why not Shudras? Why is that is not even open for them? Why? Because qualification, it all is qualification, merit based. Now power is given to fools. Nuclear weapons are in the hands of dangerous people, and therefore the whole world is at risk. Previously, it used to be in the hands of very law-abiding people who, even if they fight on yuddha, this dharma yuddha they fight. Of course, some people transgress like Ashwathama and these people like that, and therefore they're punished as well for that. So these things are the checks and balances for everything. So you see how for devotee the very cause of argument is removed. He's not interested. He's not interested at all. He's interested in the vyakto vyaktat sanatanaha parastasmat tu bhava anya. In fact, to be even more this thing, the spiritual, devotee is not even interested in the spiritual world. He's interested in his eternal occupation as a servant of Krishna. Of course, that means spiritual world. Wherever you are, it will be spiritual. That's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also said, Sthavar Jangam dekhe na dekhatar murti, sarvatra hoya nija ishtadeva spurti. And that is also echoed in the Bhagavad-gītā 6:31. सर्वभूतस्थितं यो मां भजत्येकम् एकत्वम् आस्थितः सर्वथा वर्तमानोऽपि स योगी मयि वर्तते. Such a yogi who engages in the worshipful service of the Super Soul, knowing that I and the Super Soul are one, remains always in me in all circumstances. And he sees everything. Sarvabhuta sthitam yomam. In every body, in every single body, Krishna is there as Paramatma. And he is seeing everything equal, therefore. So, although he sees many varieties in this material world, he is actually focused on his eternal Lord, Krishna. That's why he said, Yomam pashyati sarvatra, sarvam cha mai pashyati, tasyaham na pranashyami sacha me na pranashyati. One who sees me everywhere and sees everything in me, I am never lost, nor is he ever lost to me. So this is the vision of now we cannot have the same vision. We are not having the same vision as the pure devotee. That doesn't mean that vision is false. It's possible with certain qualification. Prabhupada gave the example. If your car has broken down, like something wrong with the engine and it's not starting. Now you open the bonnet and look at the engine. You don't know what the head and tail is going on there. Now a mechanic comes and he knows immediately what is the fault and he rectifies it and it starts moving. You both were looking at the same thing. He's looking, you are looking, but he could understand, you could not. Because he knows the technicalities. So spiritual life has also technicalities. You cannot rely on your senses. The Lord is called Adhokshaja. Not only the Lord. Lord is spiritual, is Adhokshaja, cannot be understood. Even the material world, even though it is perceivable by us, even that is bewildering and illusory. You cannot understand. In fact, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, there is a verse like that. What to speak of the spiritual world? It is beyond our sense perception. Even the material world. Let's talk about this material world, which is 1/4, which is even then very difficult to understand. So we cannot understand like that, just with our senses. Understand? So now, how exactly are they situated these planets? I may not know. And if it does not corroborate with your modern science, I don't care. So it doesn't matter to me. Because ultimately, modern science has zero answers about the aim of life, about the purpose of creation. And these two gentlemen even arguing with me about Big Bang theory. They were believers in Big Bang. So that's the most chaotic nonsense explanation of creation of universe ever come up with. Doesn't make any damn sense. Because just because the universe is expanding, they think, oh, it must have started from a point. Well, in a way, yes. But not exactly from a bang. Krishna created from his pores of his body. They don't know that. What to speak? Brahma, when he was born, he could not see the form of the Lord who was lying down in the water of the ocean, and then from his navel the lotus flower came. He could see the lotus, but he was going down the stem and going down for 100 years. He could not find the end. and he couldn't see nothing. But when he became after tapasya, he attained purification. Then he could see the Lord, who was right there. But the same Lord he could not see before. So this means that the Lord can be right in front of you. You cannot see him because he chooses to cover himself. Naham prakasha sarvasya yoga maya samavritam mudhoyam na bhijana. Rascals cannot know. So we have many descriptions of interplanetary travel in our Bhagavatam and some pointers to it in Bhagavad-gītā as well. Like this today, the time of Brahma's on Brahma's planet. How would we know? Sitting here, we cannot know. Krishna, because he's the creator, he knows. He's explaining to Arjuna. This is the time there. But it's nothing. Nothing. He's useless. He's just full of misery. Come to me. Eternal life. Eternal world. You belong there. Please come back. So that is the whole point of these four verses. So these things which are very attractive to so-called modern um, philosophers and scientists and armchair speculators, and those same things are neglectfully described in the scriptures like Bhagavad-gītā and Bhagavatam. Neglectfully. Of course, in Bhagavatam actually Parishit Maharaj asks about the situations of the planets and he does describe it in detail, but here is a verse from Bhagavad-gītā 10:42. He says, अथवा बहुनैतेन किं ज्ञातेन तवार्जुन विष्टभ्याहमिदं कृत्स्नम् एकांशेन स्थितो जगत्. But what need is there, Arjuna, for all this detailed knowledge? With a single fragment of myself, I pervade and support this entire universe. That's it. No need of all this and that, this and that. Single fragment, I support this entire universe. Nothing. And not just this universe, millions of universes. It is said that I even explained the law of gravity because our law of gravity that we have, what we understand, is completely different again from modern scientists' understanding of gravity. Ours is because Sankarshan, Lord Sankarshan, who attracts everything to it. Him. A magnet is called Akarsha, something which attracts. So anybody who's attractive by personality, charismatic, he's also attractive. That is also another attraction. Magnetic attraction is another attraction. So this gravitational so-called pull, that is also an attraction by the Lord Sankarshan. Sankarshan means Samyak Akarshan. That is Sankarshan. Samyak means complete. So the Lord is attractive. When I said this is Sankarshan is the cause of gravity, because he pulls in his Seshanag feature, the universes are on his hoods and he doesn't even feel their weight. And that is mentioned in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Now, because of his power, then everything is held. That is the force that is called gravity usually. But the modern scientists they understand in a different way. And anyway, we don't care. Now, this understanding of gravity, when I said Sankarshan means he attracts not only by his beauty. Yes, he's very beautiful. The Lord is extremely beautiful and he's attractive to everyone. Because he said, one of these gentlemen, he was arguing that that's attraction means emotional attraction, like beautiful, that kind of attraction, or some emotional attraction. Not really gravity, isn't it? It shouldn't be gravity. I said, why it shouldn't be? Samyak means of all kinds, complete attraction. Whether it's by beauty, whether it's by gravity, whether it's by magnetic, whatever attraction is all coming from the Lord only. Then he asked me, are you saying that there's a magnetic field which is attracted? I'm not saying magnet. He can attract without a magnet, which is gravity. Gravity is an attracting force, right? So that is Sankarshan's pull actually, the pull of Lord Sankarshan. And he says, Gamavasya bhutani dharayam ahamojasa. I enter into each planet and I hold them in orbit. Sorry, 15:13 of Bhagavad-gītā. So they are moving like cotton swabs in the sky, although they are so heavy. How? Because of Krishna having entered them. I enter into each planet and by my energy they stay in orbit. So you see, these things are there. So this is how we understand Shastra. Now their contention was that if you just accept blindly, like, although your eyes are showing something else and then your book is saying something else, because you are an adherent to a certain school of thought, therefore you are adhering to the book and not your personal experience, which is like completely contradictory to what you're reading in the book. And why you should accept this book is if your perception is showing something else. You should challenge the book. Why are you not challenging? Why are you blindly? And this is what they call cognitive dissonance. That you have turned a blind eye towards apparent, absolutely perceivable reality, and have taken to an improbable or inexplicable explanation, which is just in your books, just because you want to be a party to that. But he may say cognitive dissonance, but actually it is cognitive harmony, because I'm not just, yeah, I'm seeing one thing and book is saying another thing. Yes, I'm rejecting what I'm seeing, but only because this book is spoken by the perfect person. Now that is not dissonance. I'm having a dissonance with my senses in the first place. Uh, See, this is our problem. Indriyani manobuddhir asyadhisthanamuchyate. Lust is sitting in our senses and our mind, and it's bewildering our perception of things. Uh, And we are having too much faith on this. This is the primary, you know, evidence. And whereas in our thing, there is the least important evidence, pratyaksha. Whereas Shabda Brahma is taken as, if it was somebody else, if I am seeing that this is the fact and somebody else says, oh no, that is the fact, no, I will believe what I see. Because who are you? But when that who is Krishna, then if I see one thing and Krishna is saying different thing, okay, Krishna, I will accept what you say. That is what, because Krishna is speaking, he is perfect. My senses, I cannot believe my senses. Bhagavad-gītā, Krishna says, Sarvameta dhritam manye yanmam vadasi keshava. Nahite bhagavan vyaktim vidur devana danava. Oh Krishna, I totally accept as truth all that you have told me. Not that I accept as truths these things that you told me, those things, well, that I don't accept. No. Everything, totally. Sarvam etadritam manya. Sarvam. Accept totally as truth. So I will not challenge. I will not challenge. Because you may say cognitive dissonance, but you have cognitive disorder. Because how can you understand everything with your intelligence? So we can only understand from Krishna, the creator of everything and the one who has no defects. Brahma Pramadi Vipralipsa Karana Pata Ishwarer Vakya Nahi Dosha Esa. Adilila 7.107. So this is the way to accept. Otherwise it's going to be very difficult. Forever, Panthastu Koti Shatavatsara Sampragamyo. Millions of years later, you will be still the same speculative rascal that you have been if you don't surrender to Krishna. You surrender and everything is adjusted. Everything is taken care of. Material world itself, there are so many conflicting theories. What to speak of the spiritual world then? You see, next verse also, 11:22:7. Parasparano praveshat tatvanam purusharshabha paurvaparya prasankhyanam yatha vaktur vivakshitam. O best among men, because subtle and gross elements mutually enter into one another, philosophers may calculate the number of basic material elements in different ways according to their personal desire. Ekasminnapi drishyante प्रविष्टानि तराणि च पूर्वस्मिन् वा परस्मिन् वा तत्त्वे तत्त्वानि सर्वशः. All subtle material elements are actually present within their gross effects. That's true. Similarly, all gross elements are present within their subtle causes. It's true. Since material creation takes place by progressive manifestation of elements from subtle to gross. Yes. Thus, we can find all material elements within any single element. Wow. Beautiful. Very nice. पौर्वापर्यं मतो मीशां प्रसङ्ख्यानम् अभीप्स्यतां यथा विविक्तं यद्वक्त्रं गृह्णीमो युक्तिसम्भवात्. Therefore, no matter which of these thinkers is speaking, and regardless of whether in their calculations they include material elements within their previous subtle causes or else within their subsequent manifest causes, I accept their conclusions as authoritative because a logical explanation can always be given for each of the different theories. We think we are, champions of logic. But here it is said, a logical explanation can be given for each of the different theories. अनाद्यविद्या युक्तस्य पुरुषस्यात्मवेदनं स्वतो न संभवादन्यस्तत्त्वज्ञो ज्ञानदो भवेत्. This is now important. Because a person who has been covered by ignorance since time immemorial is not capable of effecting his own self-realization, there must be some other personality who is in factual knowledge of the absolute truth and can impart this knowledge to him. This is why we need a guru. Guru who is knowledgeable in this whole aspect, the entire gamut of knowledge, spiritual and material, especially spiritual. So that's why we need a guru. We cannot just speculate and speculate. We will never be coming to a conclusion. So anyway, so he goes on to explain the whole thing. So you see, anyway, the point is this: there's so much varied opinions, and this is because Krishna bewilders each of them and makes each of them convince themselves. Like I'll tell you, 10, 12, 12. Okay. So 10, 12, 11. इत्थं सतां ब्रह्म सुखानुभूत्या दास्यं गतानां परदैवतेन मायाश्रितानां नरधारकेण साकं विजहरुः कृतपुण्यपुञ्जाः. All the boys would be differently engaged. Okay, these are all about the cowherd boys. Now, in this way, all the cowherd boys used to play with Krishna. They used to play with Krishna, who is in the form, personally. But the same Krishna is the source of Brahman effulgence for Jnanis. And the same Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead for devotees who have accepted eternal servitorship. And the same Krishna who is just another ordinary child for ordinary people. And for the cowherd boys, he is their friend. Cowherd boys, having accumulated the result of pious activities for many lives, were able to associate in this way with the supreme personality of Godhead. How can one explain their good fortune? Everyone is looking at the same Krishna and having different views. Some people are saying, oh, he's just an ordinary boy. Some people are saying, he's the Brahman, Brahma Jyoti. Some people are saying, he's the supreme personality of Godhead. And some people are saying, he's my friend. So all of them have different perception of the same absolute truth. But here it is mentioned very nicely that different people have different perception. But the fortunate ones are the cowherd boys who have intimate relationship with Krishna. Not just the Lord, even the material nature can be appear differently. What is lucrative for one person is poison for another. Like if a person has to do some business with killing animals like slaughterhouse. A person who would only think about money and have no religious or moral life, he will immediately, yeah, let's do it. But for a devotee, the same thing is poison. I mean, I can't even think about this. Out of bounds. So, even the matter, there is so much difference in the way we see things. So, anyway, so I guess, so we have to be attracted to the spiritual world and the Supreme Lord, in fact. In fact, not even the spiritual world, the Supreme Lord, and to serve Him. And of course, even though the devotee does not aspire for it, the Lord awards him a place in the spiritual world. So in this material world, Nirnam Santi Sahasrashaha. There are too many topics. But as devotees, this is all Prajalpa. Shrotavyadini Rajendra Nirnam Santi Sahasrashaha Apashyatam Atmatattvam Griheshu Grihamedhinam. Those persons who are materially engrossed, being blind to the knowledge of ultimate truth, leave many subject matters for hearing in human society. Leave or have. Either. Both. Both are actually this thing. There are many subject matters. So they have many subject matters and they leave many subject matters for others also. And make others also talk about those nonsense things. So we have too many distractions. Astronomy, these situations of planet, that's a distraction. Games, cricket, football, basketball, all these are distractions. Movies, distraction. Political, strife, distraction. Everything is a distraction except that knowledge which is connected with Krishna. And therefore, a devotee is not interested in any of these topics because in each of those topics there are different parties of arguments, and they engage in debates and agreeing and disagreeing among themselves. But he completely disagrees with everything that the material. They may agree this way, that way, but actually a devotee completely disagrees with everything material. He agrees with spiritual. He also has agrees and agreement. He also, it's not that samatvam means samatvam, like he doesn't have any desire or any judgment. No, he does judge. When it is said that he judges everything loshtrasma kanchana, whether it's gold or stone is the same. That means what? Same as what? Same as what? Both are rubbish. We have some. It's not the same means he's equal to everyone. No, and everything is equal for him. Equal means everything is equally garbage for him. That is materially. And materially, people are sometimes criminals, sometimes this one, that one. But he sees everybody equal spiritually. Everybody deserves the mercy of Krishna. So let me try to distribute, share the knowledge of Krishna. So in this way, that is also equality. And he looks at the material also equal, because he is interested in Krishna. So equal means that is equally disinterested in gold as is disinterested in a stone. It's not that he's equally interested in both of them. No, he's equally disinterested in both of them. Whereas people have multiple thousands and millions of topics to talk about, their interests, their everything. I mean, there are you know what is. That's why these magazines and newspapers are flourishing, and social media is flourishing because so many opinions, so many chatter is going on. Even they maintain. I mean, the one of the social media giant is Twitter. Twitter means tweeting. All these birds, chirping every day morning. What are they doing? So much noise. Sometimes arguing, sometimes agreeing, sometimes disagreeing, this and that, just talking so much. Meaningless talk. It has no use of the whole sound is a complete waste of time. Noise only. Similarly, if we are concerned with any of these material topics, it is noise. Then why do devotees engage in these material debates? Moon landing or evolution or to bring them. These are bridges in which to show the folly of the material so-called science, and then bring them to the Krishna consciousness. So that's the whole point. Prabhupada said, devotees are not interested in battle, fighting. But if Krishna wants us to fight, he will fight with full enthusiasm. They're not interested in a battlefield. But Krishna is there on the battlefield, okay, we will. We will be interested in the battlefield. Dharma kshetra, kurukshetra, samaveta, yuyutsavaha. Yuyutsava means fight. Because Krishna is interested. So this duality is there in Krishna also. He also says paritrana sadhunam vinashash dushkram. There is a dual. But that duality is between spiritual and material, not between material and material. Higher material and lower material, everything is same for spiritual. Everything is not. For him, pious, shubha shubha parityagi. What does it mean? Giving up all auspicious and inauspicious activities. That means what does it mean? He understands that all are equally inauspicious because they result in rebirth in this material. So his equality is on that platform. They're both equally useless, Shubha and Ashubha, in this material world. So, in this way, we have to understand. So, with this, I would like to, I think, stop it here. And if you have any questions, let's see, we will answer them. Please post your questions in the comment section if you have any questions. I hope it was clear. Ayush Sharma is saying, I want to do bhakti. Well, if you are listening to this class, you are actually doing bhakti by hearing. Shravanam is one of the items of bhakti. There is the first item. It should be done by everyone. And apart from that, there is kirtanam, everything. You have to chant, read books and everything. But it is good you are starting here. But don't stagnate yourself. Progress further. Take a book, start reading. Take a japmala, beads and start chanting. Like that. Go further and further. Don't stagnate. Shreya Sharma, there is a palace of illusions which makes us perfectly illusioned by the way of eyes. Good. Where is that? Palace of illusion. Is it a place? I don't know what this is. But I don't understand this comment. Hadarian Hollingsworth. If I'm faced with virtue and I'm told or reminded of my well-being by the opposite party or even recollection of my own desires, I've been thinking about Ratha and what that truly means. I don't know what you mean, so I'm going to skip. Dvaite bhadra bhadragyan sab manodharm ei bhalo ei manda ei shababhram. In this material world, conceptions of good and bad are all mental speculations, therefore saying this is good and this is bad is all a mistake. Yeah. Talking about that, there is this other verse. 11th canto, 28th chapter, verse 4. But we will see verse 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's say 11, 28, 1. Let's see, what is 1? Sri Bhagavan Vach. Parasvabhava karmani na prashamsen na garhayet vishvam ekamakam pasyan prakritya purushena cha. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, one should neither praise nor criticize the condition, nature, and activities of other persons. Rather, one should see this world as simply the combination of material nature and the enjoying souls, all based on one absolute truth. Now, then why do we criticize? So, criticize means we're accepting one thing and we're criticizing the other thing. But then, that is again duality, right? But we, as devotees, we do criticize sometimes. What is that criticism then? That criticism is that way of life which gets us away from Krishna, a devotee will criticize. So every single material thing, whether it is goodness, passion, ignorance, he criticizes everything. In one way, it does not criticize. He does not criticize in the sense that he does not criticize one aspect of material world and praise another aspect of the material world. Rather, he completely rejects or criticizes the entire material propaganda or an entire material, idea of life, and praises the spiritual aspect, which is Krishna consciousness. That he will do, because nasato vidyate bhavo na bhavo vidyate satah ubhayorapi drishtvantas tvanayos tattvadarshibhi. See 216. Those who are seers of the truth have concluded that of the non-existent, which is the material body, there is no endurance. It doesn't endure. It will die after them. And of the eternal, the soul, there is no change. It doesn't change. There is no cessation. There is no destruction. This they have concluded by studying the nature of both. So they have studied and have concluded that this is doesn't endure, so don't focus much on this. This is does not change, it is eternal, focus on this. So if you have to say that don't focus on this, that is a criticism in one way, right? So that is criticism. Just like Arjuna, Krishna said, Jayastu, I mean, there is this verse in the Shastra, Jayastu Panduputranam Yesham Paksha Janardana. Krishna did not remain neutral in the war. Balram kind of remained. That's again another Leela. But Krishna was not neutral in the war. He sided with the Pandavas. So Krishna has his own side. So what is that? Why did he side one? If he's ever above all duality, then he should be party, isn't it? And externally, he kind of did that. He did not fight for any side, and he gave even his army, and he chose. Arjuna and Duryodhan, they chose between them. Arjuna was given the first choice. He immediately said Krishna. Duryodhan was happy to take the army. So he equally satisfied both of them externally. But just by Krishna being on one side, he is siding with the Pandavas. Why? Because they are spiritual and the Kauravas are material. It's not that they are better than them. That's why. No. They are spiritual, they are material. Better means, again, in this material world, it's a relative conception. It's not about being better. They are correct and they are wrong. That's it. And I'll show you something else. I mean, let's go back to that verse, 11:28:1, right? Parasvabhava karmani yah prashamsati nindati sa ashubhrashyate swarthad asatyabhiniveshatah. Whoever indulges in praising or criticizing the qualities and behavior of others will quickly become deviated from his own best interest by his entanglement in illusory dualities. So this praising and criticizing is based on, again, this material thing. Or if he praises one material aspect and criticizes another aspect, then he's getting attached to that thing that he's getting praised and he's praising in the material world. But if one comes to the spiritual world and distinguishes both of them for his own intellectual understanding of the whole matter, and therefore making a very, very deliberate decision about what to do and what not to do in life, what is spiritual and what is material, to be exactly able to demarcate both of them. So he has to do that always. But what he doesn't do is to criticize on the material platform or to praise one side, and he condemns both sides. He condemns all sides of the material world and he praises the spiritual world. What is that? नायम देहो देहभाजाम निर्लोके कष्टान कामान अर्हते विडभुजाम ये तपो दिव्यम पुत्रकायेन सत्वम शुद्धेत यस्मात् ब्रह्म सौख्यम अनंतम. It is not even this verse I wanted to quote. It is 551, but I wanted to quote 554. Nunam pramatta kurute vikarma yadindriya priti apranoti न साधु मन्ये यत आत्मनोयम asannapi kleshada asadeha. Na sadhu. Nothing is good in this. Sadhu means good. Na sadhu means nothing is good. It is not good. So he is equal to everyone and everything in this material world. Everything is not good. But he is equal to everyone because he knows that they are all servants of God. Everybody is actually good. But they are covered by this material energy which is not good. Nothing about this material energy is good. Everything about the spiritual soul is good. So therefore, let me separate this good and no good. So let me take out these good souls, originally good souls who have been contaminated now, to the good world, the actual spiritual world, from this bad, evil world, which is subject to dukkhalema shashvatam. Everything is bad here. Nasadhu manya. Let's go to that verse and come back here. 554. When a person considers sense gratification the aim of life, he certainly becomes mad after materialistic living and engages in all kinds of sinful activity. He does not know that due to his past misdeeds, he has already received a body which, although temporary, is the cause of his misery. Actually, the living entity should not have taken on a material body, but he has been awarded the material body for sense gratification. Therefore, I think it not befitting an intelligent man to involve himself again in the activities of sense gratification, by which he perpetually gets bodies, material bodies, one after another. It's not befitting, it's not good. So, coming back here, तैजसे निद्रयापन्ने पिण्डस्थो नष्टचेतनः मायां प्राप्नोति मृत्युं वा तद्वन्नानार्थदृक्पुमान्. Just as the embodied spirit soul loses external consciousness when his senses are overcome by the illusion of dreaming or the death-like state of deep sleep, so a person experiencing material duality must encounter illusion and death. Okay, so this one, the verse that was quoted by Rajagishwar Prabhu, Dvaite Bhadra Bhadra Gyan. Here, Bhadram Abhadram is mentioned. Kim Bhadram Kim Abhadram Va Dvaitasya Vastunah Kiyat Vachoditam Tad Anratam Manasadhyatameva cha. That which is expressed by material words or meditated upon by the material mind is not ultimate truth. What therefore is actually good or bad within this insubstantial world of duality, and how can the extent of such good and bad be measured? Very nice analogies. Everything is very nicely explained. Okay, I won't go much into this. And now I'll show you something else. 11:13, 1 to 6, I think. Let's take 1. Sattvam rajastama iti guna buddherna chatmanah sattvenanyatamohanyat sattvam sattvena chaivahi. Supreme Personality of God has said, the three modes of material nature, namely goodness, passion, and ignorance, pertain to the material intelligence and not to the spirit soul. By development of material goodness, one can conquer the modes of passion and ignorance, and by cultivation of transcendental goodness, one may free oneself even from material goodness. So this transcendental is what we're talking about. Transcending the modes. Traigunya Vishaya Veda. Nistraigunya Bhavarjuna. Next again. Sattva dharmo bhaved vridhat. Pumso madbhakti lakshanaha sattvikopaasaya sattvam tato dharma pravartate. When the living entity becomes strongly situated in the mode of goodness, then religious principles characterized by devotional service to me become prominent. So in the mode of goodness, these things become prominent. One can strengthen the mode of goodness by cultivation of those things that are already situated in goodness, and thus religious principles arise. What are the things? Okay, after this. Dharmo rajasta mohanyat sattva vriddhir anuttamaha ashu nashyati tanmulo hyadharma ubhaye hate. Religious principles strengthened by the mode of goodness destroy the influence of passion and ignorance. When passion and ignorance are overcome, their original cause, irreligion, is quickly vanquished. Agamopah prajadeshah kalah karma cha janma cha dhyanam mantrotha samskaro dashaite gunahetavah. According to the quality of religious scriptures, water, one's association with one's children or with people in general, the particular place, time, activities, birth, meditation, chanting of mantras, purificatory rituals, the modes of nature become differently prominent. So according to, like for example, scriptures. Scriptures, you can take books. Some people, read Bhagavad-gītā and Bhagavatam and they become, pure. Some people read books like, Harry Potter, which are just like fantasy. So accordingly, his consciousness will be. So one is in the mode of transcendental goodness, one is in the mode of ignorance, or maybe passion or ignorance, something like that, imagination. So according to scriptures, water, whether we drink Charnamrita or we drink some, beer, one's association with one's children and people in general. So what kind of people we associate with? What are the places we go to? If a temple means above goodness, brothel means ignorance. Time. What kind of time? Brahma Muhurta I am awake or Brahma Muhurta I am going to sleep. Ignorant people, a mode of ignorance, they go to sleep at Brahma Muhurta. For those who are mode of goodness, they wake up at Brahma Muhurta. 1.5 hours before sunrise. So it's like that. Time. Meditation. What do they meditate on? Everybody is meditating. Many people are meditating on money. That is also meditation only. Meditation means your constant thought on something. Thinking about money, thinking about women. These are all also meditations only. Accordingly, his what is that? Character will be. If he's meditating on Krishna, what is that? Yasyasti bhaktir bhagavatya kinchana sarvair gunay satra samasate suraha. All the good qualities will come in him. Harav bhaktasya, what is that? Harav bhaktasya kuto mahadguna manorathe nasati dhavato bahi. No good qualities for the non-devotees. Whereas all good qualities come to the devotees. Okay. तत्तत् सात्विकमेवैषां यद्यद् वृद्धाः प्रचक्षते निन्दति तामसं तत्तद् राजसं तदुपेक्षितं. You see here. Now, criticism. This verse, 11:13:5. Among the 10 items I have just mentioned, the great sages who understand Vedic knowledge have praised and recommended those that are in the mode of goodness, criticized and rejected those in the mode of ignorance, and shown indifference to those in the mode of passion. Look at this. So there is criticism. Great sages have done this. So because why? They not just to criticize, oh, because they don't like it. No, because it is not helpful for self-realization. Therefore, they criticize. So it's from a spiritual perspective, spiritual point of view. So that's the point I wanted to make. Sattvika seveta puman sattva vivriddhaye tato dharmas tato jnanam yavat smriti rapohanam. Until one revives one direct knowledge of the spirit soul and drives away the illusory identification with the material body and mind caused by the three modes of material nature, one must cultivate those things in the mode of goodness. So until we have come to the point of pure goodness, we have to cultivate in the mode of goodness. By increasing the mode of goodness, one automatically can understand and practice religious principles, and by such practice, transcendental knowledge is awakened. So in this way, of course, it goes. Okay, so next, Manu Das. I have a question. I have heard that the majority of people don't have an inner monologue, but only thinks in images, while the minority has an inner monologue. Is this related to the level of intelligence or spiritual advancement? Inner monologue, you know what actually it means? Manorathe nasati dhavato bahi. Mana ratha. This conversations with the mind, inner monologue. We have we are having a conversation with ourselves. We are taking our mind into confidence. It is not a sign of intelligence. Inner monologue means it's not about inner monologue. It is to refer to the scriptures and accept that. Inner monologue, well, that is speculation because we're in the chariot of the mind. So it's not recommended. But to think about philosophy, taking the guidance of the Shastric statements and then contemplating on those, that is absolutely encouraged and in fact emphasized. So tatpara samyatendriya. So in this way it is mentioned we have to associate everything. So inner monologue, that is dangerous to have conversations with the mind. Mind is extremely powerful, and there are many verses 11, 23, 47, 5, 11, 17. But there is another verse today Prabhu showed me. Mind is very dangerous. 328:7. एतैरन्यैश्च पथिभिर् मनो दुष्टम असत्पथम बुद्ध्या युञ्जीत शनकैर्जितो प्राणो ह्यतन्द्रितः. By these processes or any other true process, one must control the contaminated, unbridled mind which is always attracted by material enjoyment, and thus fix himself in the thought of the Supreme Personality of God. So with mind, basically, mano dushtam. Dushtam means it is very bad. What is dushtam? Contaminated, you see. Manah dushtam asat patham, on the path of material enjoyment. Asat patham, not sat patham. You know that Ishopanishad verse? Last verse. Supatha. Asat patham. Supatha. Or kupatha. Kupatha is opposite. Supatha means the right path. Supatha, you see, by the right path. अग्नेनाय सुपथाराये अस्मान् विश्वानि देव वयुनानि विद्वान् युयोध्यस्मज्जुहुराणमेनो भूयिष्ठां ते नम उक्तिं विधेम. Supatha. O my Lord, as powerful as fire, O omnipotent one, now I offer you all obeisances falling on the ground at your feet. O my Lord, please lead me on the right path to reach you. Whereas, what is that? Mano dushtam asatpatham. Whereas we have to ask the Lord to supatha. So the Lord shows us the supatha, lead us on the right path by scriptural directions, by sadhu, shastra, guru. In this way, he shows the right path. So, in other words, we should not have conversations with our mind, but listen to the advice of Krishna because he is our friend. So, Hridam Sarva Bhutanam, we are thinking our mind is my friend. It is our enemy. Because of the mind, we have thought something at the last point in our life, at the previous life, and now became that. Every single life, our mind is cheating us and keeping us bound in this material world. So, how can we trust our mind? We cannot trust our mind. We have to take it as an enemy. But then, who's our friend then? Krishna. Krishna says, what is that? Suhridam Sarva Bhutanam. I am the friend of everyone. And he's showing us the Supatha. We are attracted to Asat Patham, Manodushtam Asat Patham. Lord is showing us Supatha. And the spiritual master shows the path that is shown by the Lord. That is also Supatha. That is stated here. Srimad Bhagavatam 10 to 31. Swayam samuttirya sudustaram dyuman bhavarnavam bhimamadabrasauhridaah भवत्पदाम्भोरुहनाभमत्रते निधाय याताः सदनुग्रहो भवान्. O Lord, who resembles the shining sun, you are always ready to fulfill the desire of a devotee and are therefore known as a desire tree, Vansha Kalpataru. Now, when acharyas completely take shelter under your lotus feet, in order to cross the fierce ocean of nescience, they leave behind on earth the method. This method. What is the method? Nidhaya, leaving behind, yatah, on to the ultimate destination. Nidhaya yatah is the method. They have crossed. Sudustaram, they have samuttirya. Samuttirya means perfectly crossing. Sudustaram, which is very difficult to cross. So they have gone out of the maze and they're showing us the path how to come out. So you leave behind on the earth the method, the supatha, by which they cross. And because you are very merciful to your other devotees, you accept this method to help them. Okay? So this is supatha, asat patham. So this is the thing. Ramya Mohan Mataji. Big Bang theory is about explosion, and we counter and say nothing constructive and beautiful in nature cannot be created by exploding. In scripture, it is mentioned about Vishnu glancing in agitation. Yes. When I said this about Big Bang theory, these two people, they say, no, actually, you see, yes, with an explosion, something is destroyed, but another thing is created because, you know, what is created? For example, fire is created by explosion, and it has a nuclear fusion, for example, both hydrogen and what oxygen is it? They mix together and there is a fusion, and then energy is created, um, not created, transferred, or if it is fission, one atom is being divided into two, so another atom and two different atoms are created. Yeah, there is destruction on one side, there is creation on the other side. Well, yes. Even then, the question is, who put the detonated, who detonated the bomb? Where is the investigation on the person who detonated the bomb? The Big Bang. So this is not, uh, so even then you have to accept God. Even if there is Big Bang, there is God. But anyway, we know that it is not such a chaotic beginning. It was some very, very deliberate and careful engineering by the Lord. So anyway, so that makes more sense anyway. What is this? Ramya Mohan. Happening and creation happened. Is there agitation word about explosion? Explosion because of the Lord's glance, even because of explosion, beautiful nature was created. Okay. We don't need to corroborate or reconcile every Vedic statement with modern science. It Modern science does not have to match what sorry Vedic statements do not have to match what modern science is saying. Just to prove that Vedic statements are right, we don't need to be desperate to coincide with modern scientific so-called explanations. It doesn't have to be. So if it differs in idea, so be it. And when they said this explosion and all that, they did not think of all these ideas that you are mentioning, that agitating by the super soul and all this thing, by the Vishnu and the Lord's glance, is that the explosion? We don't need to like even try to explain what that explosion is. Why should we explain the explosion? Instead of explaining their explosion, we should explode their explanation and replace it with our explanation. I think that's a good one. Instead of explaining their explosion, we should explode their explanation and replace it with this. This is a proper explanation. So why should we care about their explanation, whether it's a bang or what? We will just, we have to destroy that. So nonsense theory, and mention that there is a person. Even if there is a bang, they deny. The problem with their theory is the person they deny. God. Completely atheistic. Srikant Tupurani. Prabhuji, I have spent good amount of time doing mental speculation and finally realized that there's no point in doing mental speculation. Surrendering to Krishna is the only way. Hare Krishna. Good. Good. Actually, this is true. So even this, fifth canto of Bhagavatam, all this astronomy, and I was kind of, intrigued by this at a certain point, like 10 years ago. Like, although I was not too interested because, I don't really bother whether, sun is above or below or wherever. But just to like, curiosity, just find out, what is the whole thing, So, but after, like studying and studying and studying, there's so many conflicting theories and everything like looks plausible. I was like, what am I going to do with all that? Even if I figure out, okay, this is the truth. Earth is flat, or Earth is round, or Earth is a square, whatever I come up with. How is that going to change the fact that this place is a place of miseries and time is ticking and I need to become more and more Krishna conscious? I'm just getting distracted by something which is not really substantial. Doesn't really matter to me. But those who want to satisfy their curiosity, okay, some detail is given that we can understand. But if you're not satisfied with that, you have more curiosity, then waste your time with that curiosity. Rather, and even after your curiosity is satisfied, problems of life are not satisfied. And therefore, surrender to Krishna is the ultimate recourse. And we will realize that. And then when we realize that, then we'll lose interest in any of these debates and arguments. Although scientists, as you can see, space travel, Elon Musk, they think this is at the height of human advancement. We are not even bothered. We don't even care about it. Even though we know more than them, they are into where are the aliens? We want to look at the aliens. We are not interested in the aliens. We are an alien. We don't belong here. We belong to the spiritual world. We are the alien. So let me go back to my original home. I've come far away. So we're not interested in aliens. Yeah, they are there. We already know. And we're not really interested. So parastasmatu bhavonyo. That is where our interest is. Krishna. Siddhi Shinde. I am born on Ekadashi of Krishna Paksha. Does it have anything to do with my previous birth? Yeah. You did not become a devotee of Krishna, and therefore you came back to this material world. You have been took birth on an Ekadashi, which is good, auspicious. But if you don't become a surrendered servant, pure devotee of Krishna, then all that auspiciousness becomes inauspicious. Because, for example, Saddam Hussein died on Vaikuntha Ekadashi, Moksha Ekadashi, but he did not get moksha because although he died on an auspicious day, he went to hell because his consciousness. So ultimately, whatever time we were born or die, it is our consciousness that matters, really. So whether you are born on Ekadashi or absolute Amavasya, when midnight on Amavasya, doesn't matter. If you become devotee of Krishna, everything will be perfect. Like I was born just minutes before Mahalaya Amavasya. That is how auspicious I am. You know, the Chaturdashi, just minutes before Amavasya. Of course, my mother says, "Oh, it is auspicious." Actually, that is how auspicious. But just before Amavasya, just imagine. So that's my birth. So you are better than me. But all these things have zero bearing if we don't make use. Like the hare is faster, yes, certainly. But the tortoise won the race because the hare just, oh, I'm faster, haha, let me sleep. So Indians are actually very fortunate. They are much ahead in the race back to Godhead than anybody else. But Indians sleep. They choose not to read their books, choose not to follow anything. Yatama tatapat. Oh, you follow that one? Okay. You follow this one? Okay. You follow this one? Okay. You follow that one? Okay. And everything is okay. In the end, at the time of death, nothing is okay. They go to hell. Oh, I want to go to Swarga. Okay. But if you go to hell, okay. You know what to do? I've ended up in hell. Huh. So we want that okay, or we want to actually become completely okay and go back to Godhead. So we have to choose. Dr. Shubham Shukla. According to Sripad Sridhar Swami, the original commentator of Bhagavatam, there is not always a devastation after the change of every manu. Yes, that is fact. Sometimes there is not. Partial devastation is there. And even that is also different degrees. Anyway, how does it matter? It doesn't matter to me. I am being devastated. I have to go back. Today's class is like transcendental scientific explanations, too piercing. No, the thing is, I was dealing with these two people who are having these scientific conversations with me. And it so happened that today's Bhagavad-gītā is about, we are actually going in sequence, but this is about astronomy kind of thing, planets and time and theory of relativity, physics, and all these topics came. So, of course, I mean, it was a perfect match. And instead of just arguing with them, I'll just send them this video link, let them see this. And of course, they will have a whole millions of opinions after that. Never mind. I'm not interested. It doesn't actually interest me. I have zero enthusiasm to participate in this. I'm only participating so that I'm thinking if they can somehow become Krishna devotees, it's good for them. In that way, I'm participating, but I have zero interest in this whole argument. I don't care whether the sun is bright or sun is dark. I don't care. I mean, it doesn't matter at all. So, Shubham Shukla, please explain 1 3 15. Big confusion. Whoa, what is that? Is it related to the class? 1 3 15. Very big confusion. What is this? रूपं सज्जगृहे मात्स्यं चाक्षुषोदधिप संप्लवे नाव्यारोप्य महिमय्याम् अपाद वैवस्वतं मनु. When there was a complete inundation after the period of Chakshusha Manu and the whole world was deep within water, the Lord accepted the form of a fish and protected Vaivasvata Manu, keeping him on a boat. And yet, okay, let's see. According to Sripad Sridhar Swami, okay, this is considered, you know, relevant to this topic because Bhutva Bhutva Pralaya. This is something about Pralaya. Let's see. According to Sripad Sridhar Swami, the original commentator on the Bhagavatam, there is not always a devastation after the change of every Manu. And yet, this inundation after the period of Chakshushamana took place in order to show some wonders to Satyavrata. But Sri Jiva Goswami has given definite proofs from authoritative scriptures like Vishnu Dharmottara, Markandeya Puran, Harivamsha, etc., that there is always a devastation after the end of each and every Manu. Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti has also supported Sri Jiva Goswami and he Sri Chakravarti, oh, Vishnu Chakravarti, has also quoted from Bhagavatamrita about this inundation after each Manu. Apart from this, the Lord, in order to show special favor to Satyavrata, a devotee of the Lord in this particular period, incarnated himself. Okay, so there is some difference of opinion between Jiva Goswami and Sridhar Swami. So, big confusion. Well, I suggest you stay at the time of devastation like Markandeya Muni and see for yourself actually what happens. And that's, I think, the most easiest way to understand. I mean, if Jiva Goswami has said something and Sridhar Swami has said, who am I? Why is confusion between Acharya? Not really confusion there, In fact, some of the times, different kalpas sometimes have different, like for example, Brihad Bhagavatamrita. Okay. I mean, I'm not exactly answering the question, but I'll just draw a parallel which comes close to this, um, in how I see the answer, because I'm nobody to, you know, have a. Even though there may be differences of opinions, ultimately they don't disagree with the point of, Vishnu Bhakti and all of that, right? So, um, even if there is some, disagreement, they're all harmonious when it comes to Krishna. Krishna can make anything happen also in that way. Um, Now, Brihad Bhagavatamrita is a description of Gopakumar who went to the spiritual world, and he came down to the material world and went back to the spiritual world. And his entire journey in this material world and going back to the spiritual world is mentioned. Now, there is no such information in any of the Shastras. Then how did Sanatana Goswami made up this whole story? Is it like a fiction story or what? So Acharya's explanation is that it is not exactly a fiction. It must have been an incident that happened in some other kalpa, which was shown to Sanatana Goswami by transcendental vision by Krishna. So many of the incidences, like even Vyasadeva, for example, wrote about incidents. He wrote in Bhagavatam 5,000 years ago, incidences that happened millions of years ago, like Prahlad Maharaj, Dhruva Maharaj. How does he know what happened? Well, Parampara is coming down, yes, and also by his vision he can see. They are called Trikalagnya. They know past, present, and future. These things are like manifested to them. They can see all these things. If Krishna wants them to see, they will see. So whether far past or future, they can see. If they are interested, or if Krishna wants them to see, they will see. So in that way, they were compiled. And in Parampara, of course, it is coming down. So anyway, the point is this: like even Bhaktivinoda Thakur's Gaurarati song, the description of that song, that Brahmā is doing Arati for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that is not mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chaitanya Mangal, or Chaitanya Bhagavat. But it is mentioned by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Then what it is he speculating? No. There's other pastimes which are not visible to us. So when they see differently, it's not that by objective, juxtaposition we will find that it's like it's a bit contradictory, but there's ultimately no contradiction. Now, how they can be harmonized, that Krishna knows. I am nobody to explain. But Krishna can harmonize everything. Just like the different philosophers see differently, but every one of them are correct in that way. So Sridhar Swami is perfectly a great devotee. But then, okay, another example I'll give you. Rupa Goswami suggested in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu that we have to worship Ganesh before worshipping Krishna. Before starting worship of Krishna every day, every time, we have to worship Ganesh to remove any obstacles. But Prabhupada said no. So is he disagreeing with Rupa Goswami? Not exactly. But seeing our conditioned nature, he's advising us differently. So of course, it's not exactly the same situation here, but I'm telling that acharyas can externally seem to have different opinions. But it's not exactly like that. Another verse, another difference of opinion is this. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying one thing, and Jiva Goswami is saying another thing. Let's show you something. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying this. दीक्षा पुरश्चर्या विधि अपेक्षा ना करे जिह्वा स्पर्श आ चंडाल सबारे उद्धार. One does not have to undergo initiation or execute the activities required before initiation. One simply has to vibrate the holy name with his lips. Thus, even a man in the lowest class Chandal can be delivered. So he's saying, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying, Diksha is also not necessary. But Shiva Goswami explains Diksha in his Bhakti Sandarbha, and the whole purport is so long, entirely is about the importance of Diksha. Now, is he disagreeing with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? No. Because his explanation is that at Bhaktyabhas, Namabhas, Shuddha Bhakti, Bhaktyabhas, and Aparadha, Bhakti. Nam Aparad, Nama Bhas, Nam Shuddha Nam. So when one chants offenselessly, yes, there's nothing needed. But because we're offensively chanting, to counteract these things, yes, there are some purificatory, processes that help in the process of, deity worship helps in this process to regulate the life of a devotee. And for deity worship, we have to have initiation and all these things. So although it is a kind of a material activity, and Vaishnava is above Varnashram, but then what is this Brahman initiation then? Are we Brahman or above Varnashram? Well, at this point, we're not exactly offenselessly doing bhakti. So we are still in the Brahmana, but we are Vaishnava Brahmana. Not like there are some Brahmanas who just do some karma kandiya stuff, and we are not like that. Vaishnava, but still under the modes, still. Maybe Sattvagun, maybe Rajogun, slowly elevating ourselves, or even Tamogun. There is devotional service in the three modes 329, 8, 9, 10, it is mentioned. Devotional service in the three modes. So you can be of any of these three divisions. So in that way. So I mean, these are. I'm not exactly answering your question. I know, but I'm showing you. I also don't know exact answer why there is difference. But I can give you some examples where similar disagreements are there, and they're not exactly disagreements. So we do not know this. I cannot explain what is. Maybe somebody knows the answer. I do not know. But I can point to these things that there are these things which it is not uncommon to have this kind of differences of opinion, but they can all be completely harmonized with Krishna, you know, like that. So how should I take it? So you just take it that there is no disagreement between the very point of Vaishnavism. That is not. And even if there is seeming disagreement, it's not a very major point at all. Whether pralaya happens or not happen. Bhutva bhutva pralaya, that is happening. So it doesn't really matter. It's a very minor detail. And even I don't have an explanation, but it doesn't bother me at all. Like why should it be such a big confusion? It should not be. You know. Like, for example, another example I'll give you. Sri Sampradaya, they accept Lakshmi Narayan worship, but they don't believe in Radharani. But we do. But they are also parampara, we are also parampara. Some disagreement, but their goal is also Vishnu, our goal is also kind of Vishnu, Krishna, Vishnu, same. Our goal is the same, but there is some disagreement in some other details. But it doesn't really matter. But of course, it is not correct to say that Radharani is not there, but it does happen. Okay, some YouTube link is shared, but you know what? I can't go to the link from here. You understand? I can't go to the link from here, so I can't do much about it. Manu Das is saying, so it's like when Arjuna was told to kill Ashwathama and not to kill him, but Krishna guided him to fulfill both. Yeah, it's kind of a, not exactly, but yeah, it's kind of a valid argument where he fulfilled both. He kept both. Like in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Krishna promised that I will never. In fact, he did not promise. He asked Arjuna to promise, my devotee will never perish. And another devotee, Bhishma Dev, promised that either Arjuna will die, his devotee will perish, or Krishna has to break his own promise. So, to adjust, to keep up his devotee's promise, both devotees promise, Bhishma Dev and Arjuna, he compromised his own promise. So he adjusted the situation. What may seem impossible for anybody else is easily possible for. Like, once somebody asked this question to trick Prabhupada, like what kind of answer? He asked, can Krishna create something that he cannot lift? So his point was, If Krishna created something, yeah, he's able to create. That means he cannot lift it. And if he can lift it, that means he cannot create it. That's something which he cannot. That means one thing he cannot do. So Prabhupada answered, yeah, he can create something which he cannot lift, and then he will lift it. So, hmm? uh, I mean, you know, like you see, Krishna's belly is the abode of the entire universe. So you can't tie a rope around the entire universe. So in the beginning, Mother Yashoda could not tie. She was adding all kind of rope but could not tie. But then he allowed. So it was impossible, but he made it possible. So is it impossible or possible? Both. If he wants it is impossible. If he wants it is possible. So, you know, that's what it is. Well, what is this? Ila Tiwari. Okay, I missed this question. People experience hell and heaven here on earth by several life experiences. So then, is there a separate hell and heaven? Yes, there is. And when they see heaven or hell in this life, well, heaven, you are saying heaven, but actually, heaven is nothing close to this. But nothing. Like heaven is completely, and even hell is completely. You won't even can't even imagine what goes on in hell. But we see some glimpses on in this world. I think there is a verse. What is that verse? Just a second, huh? It is quite a common verse, but I forgot. Maybe somewhere in the third chapter, 30th verse, 31st verse. Anyway, I don't want to waste your time. But yeah, so what is this? Why is there heaven and hellish happiness or suffering in this world? So, for example, um, okay, in hell, there are descriptions where one's entrails, I mean, intestines are pulled out by wild animals. Now, that is certainly horrible. But if you see in the National Geographic Channel, sometimes, hyenas and wild dogs, they absolutely butcher the animal. They'll capture a bigger animal and then they really rip apart the entire animal to pieces. And as they're ripping apart the animal, they will try to bite at the softer parts, which is the backside, which is the stomach area, under the stomach belly, like that. They will really hold tight with their teeth and just pull it, and then the whole skin comes out. And the organs, the animal is still standing, is alive, and the organs are all hanging out. Stomach is hanging out, the intestines are all hanging out, red in color. The blood is dripping from them, and the and while the animal is standing like that, some other dogs are, I mean, big group of dogs, hyenas, some animals are actually already eating those organs, eating the stomach, eating the intestines, whatever that comes out. They're eating them, and the animal is still alive, standing. Is that not hellish? Like you can see, animal life is actually hellish life, and of course, not as bad as hell yet, but you will see a lot of hellish experiences in animal life. Um, Humans also get it because like tsunami, earthquake, big accidents, or like huge. Sometimes it is just horrible, suffering, just like in hell. So why that happens? So it is said that if a person is so sinful, before even going to hell, he will suffer those things in this world itself. His hellish punishment start in this world itself. Those kind of things are mentioned. But there is definitely heaven and hell. And there the punishments and the heavenly happiness is unimaginable. by our modern, I mean, by our calculation in this world. Unimaginable. But these are just glimpses of the what's happened. It's not that because there is hellish punishment here, so there is no more hell. This is the hell. No, no, no. The location of hellish planets just above the Garbhodaka ocean is also mentioned in the Bhagavatam, fifth canto. Okay, so why Sri Krishna married his cousin sister? What is that? Cousin sister. Arjuna married Subhadra. Krishna married who? Who's the cousin sister? And anyway, this is part of the. It is actually kind of aristocratic marriage, if it is not within the same gotra. Okay, Ravi Singh. The only thing for us to understand is have full firmly believe in 1328. Yes, and get Diksha from Bonafide Guru. Yes. Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Example, the street dog suffering. Yeah, that is hellish. Okay, I think so. That is the end of all questions here. I was supposed to do a AM session this Monday, but I wasn't feeling very well. I was feeling a little bit under the weather, so I chose not to, you know, strain myself because I know it's going to go 4 and 5 hours. I know you all, so I don't want to take the risk. But now I'm okay. Um, Maybe next Monday, hopefully next Monday. All right. So thank you very much. Um, श्रीमद् भगवद गीता की जय, श्री प्रभुपाद की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय, निताय गौर प्रेमानंद, हरि हरि बोल, हरे कृष्ण।